Welcome back, hopefully one last time to what will hopefully be the final video of the PIA Pre-Press Trainees Manual, Section 3.1, the Graphic Arts Workflow. And we're going to talk about the press room and the bindery. Let's take a look. The head press operator, also called the lead press operator, out here out west, I know it's lead. Back east, it's head. It's one of those pop versus cola versus Coke versus soda questions of what do you call that bubbly drink in the bottle? Anyways, the lead press operator out here in the West, they're the person who is the most experienced press operator. They've worked that one press the longest, and they've worked their way up in the company, so that they're kind of a mini manager of the press team. They're in charge, and we listen to what they say, and all the other press operators follow in suit, and they make sure that the press is working. They're also the ones who do light repair work, if not a full repair, which still sometimes requires special outside technicians from the actual companies to come do, but the light repair work and maintenance is done by the lead press operator. For those of you who've worked with us on our Heidelberg in our classroom before the COVID, in the long time, sorry, in the before time, in the long, long ago, for us, that would be Rita, wouldn't it? Who knows the press really well, who helps guide us all and keeps the team working together. That's the lead press op. Second press operator, and there can be multiples of these, they perform other tasks that are less vital and less overall commandy. A second press operator, typically, if you have a big enough one, might run only a single color unit on the press, one section of fountain ink, and impression rollers, and all the subsequent smaller parts that work together. So a feeder operator is a person who sets up the paper to feed into the press. Again, those of you who've done 101 or have done any of my classes in the past where we've worked on the Heidelberg press know that feeding is an important part, and oftentimes the registration of how well your print is going to line up to the paper happens at feed. It's also the lowest person on the team. It's the newest person who's just learning the press, starts out by learning how to feed it. And you apprentice here to become a second press operator, then eventually a lead press op. And then who knows, sometimes out from there to other things. Anyways, that's a feeder. It's the newest person on the press team, but it's also an important position. None of these positions are unimportant, except for the scanner operator. They don't exist anymore. Now we're into bindery. So the bindery foreman, a foreman in any sort of job, is the person in charge of a team of workers. The foreman in the bindery is in charge of the whole bindery shop. And they do things like folding, stitching, trimming, embossing, really cool things like die cutting, and stuff like that. They're the ones who take the printed sheets that come off the press and turn them into usable objects of the finished product. Without them, the job is never ready for a client to actually use. A book isn't a book until it's been cut out of its parent sheets, folded, stitched, and bound into a cover. Bindery workers. There's lots of different types of bindery workers. Some people are very skilled, very highly trained expert bindery workers who do all sorts of complicated, weird folding machines, maintain the machines, and find ways of creating creative ways to make things happen. I know that at some of the shops I've visited in the past, some of the most experienced people in bindery were the die cutters, not just using the plotters like we use in our classroom, but the people who actually make the dies themselves, who actually lay metal blades into hand-carved wooden backings to hold the blades the exact size and specifications that the artist asked for. Those people actually have their own apprenticeship where you go in and become a journeyman and eventually master of that trade. And they get paid a lot because it's a very difficult skill that not many people can do, but a lot of people need. But anyways, there's all these experts. I cannot sing enough praises of the guy I used to work with at my old shop who was just really, really good. He could fix, if you had a bad print job and it skewed funny, he could fix it for you, no trouble. He always knew how to make sure everything turned out as best as possible. The guy knew what he was doing. You could always tell when he cut your job versus one of the other guys, either the boss who would step in a pinch or the delivery driver / binder who was pretty good. But you just wanted that one guy who was just spot on. But there's also just low skill bindery workers as well. At my last job, the one I talk about that only had the 4 employees, well, sometimes we had some contractors we brought in from our neighbors in the same building. Since we sublet some space from a large warehousing company who normally did warehousing for like Costco, and they would palletize product and then ship the pallets to different Costcos and stuff, sometimes we would sub-hire some of their workers who would come work for us instead for a day or two. So when we had a big mailing job that had to be stacked or counted into groups of a certain number, or have a bunch of envelopes stuffed and sorted. That's when we would bring in the warehouse workers, and they would do some of the more menial tasks. We wouldn't waste our really cool guy Artin on that because he was too good at the other jobs to have him stuffing envelopes. Uh, so yeah, we could just pull someone from a warehouse and give them a side job for the day of doing the low-level bindery work. But the people operating the more complex bindery machines are more dedicated to their craft. Bindery is an interesting place. It's not necessarily the place you want for the most fulfilling or far-reaching of careers, but it can lead to better things. It's important, though, to get to know the bindery people, to understand their capabilities, to know what they like and dislike from the print files you give them, to make sure that your stuff is going to work when it reaches them. Also, it doesn't hurt if they like you, because then when you do make a mistake, they will try to help you rather than just going to tattle on you to the boss. Shipping and fulfillment. This involves people delivering product or, giving it to the UPS, the USPS, FedEx, or any of the other delivery companies out there, because it has to go. You don't need a print shop warehouse full of a pile of boxes you're never going to use. No, the customer needs those brochures. Sometimes you have a delivery driver. Even my little tiny shop offered free local delivery. That's a big deal. You have a driver on staff and they take the boxes of what you produce to your clients so long as they're within a reasonable distance of your office. They go around town all day, every day, dropping off boxes everywhere. And that's cheaper and actually a bit more personal than just shipping them. While you could just drop ship and have FedEx handle it, there's a personal touch of having the person in your company polo shirt show up and actually know the people. Again, it builds that familiarity and that customer kind of relationship with your company because they're one of the people that their customers start to know. They know your delivery drivers. They come every day or every week with the latest pile of whatever it is they've ordered. And fulfillment means that you're doing their shipping for them. Fulfillment means a lot of times with the direct mail I used to do, because I used to make a lot of junk mail, guys. Fulfillment meant instead of giving those postcards to the YMCA to mail, we mailed them. So they gave them to us. We did the design, the layout, the variable data when necessary, the printing, the binding, the cutting, the sorting, and then we would get them mailed for them with our mailing account. So that's one of the things you can do. Fulfillment can also be if they have a print-on-demand service and people want to print books for them. A place I'd love to take us to someday when it's possible to go on field trips, if they let us, is some of the Amazon print shops. I don't know if you know this, but Amazon, in addition to everything else they sell, has print-on-demand services where you can order a book that someone published that didn't get fully published by like Penguin or another one of the huge publishers out there, that they literally print your copy of the book when you order it. It's on demand. I would love to see one of those places, and those also do printing and fulfillment. So eventually I'm gonna get myself invited there somehow. I'll weasel us in, don't you worry. And it's a team effort. All of these different things we looked at in these last 4 long, excruciatingly detailed videos, that was still only an overview. All the different roles that happen all have to happen together. We have to cooperate. We have to work together to produce all of this. We have to work together better than many other industries, actually. Most industries would never have this level of cooperation, this level of accuracy, where the stuff we make is accurate within the 100th of an inch sometimes, and there's no mistakes, no stray marks on our production run of millions. I dare anybody other than Lego to do that good. Smaller companies, again, as I've been warning you this whole time, you may do multiple jobs. As they always say in business, you have a lot of hats to wear. Yeah, more hats than Team Fortress 2. Somebody chuckle. Somebody chuckle, make me feel better. Anyways, in large companies, they break it down and you have teams that do the different parts. And that just depends on where you end up and where you end up working, who you work with. Sometimes it's a lot of people, sometimes it's less. Anyways, it takes quite a bit to make a printing company work. We have to be more motivated, more detail-oriented, and more big picture-oriented than almost any other industry. It takes a lot out of you. And I like that, actually. Personally, I would be bored in an industry that didn't ask much of me. I spent my year in retail, and it was mind-numbingly boring. In printing, there's always something to work on, either exciting new technologies to explore or problems to figure out and puzzles to solve, and lots of people to work with. It's a fun thing. Why on earth would we do this in such a ridiculously short amount of time for so many clients for such slim margins? Well, we like printing. It's a fun career to be in. It lets you be artistic. It lets you be creative. It lets you be efficient and productive. It also lets you be scientific and deductive. It gives you a lot of fun outlets for all those different parts because no person is one dimensional with only one type of personality. In printing, you get to experience a lot of the different types of pieces of you and let you do you. And you can actually use more of yourself. And I mean this in a very good way. It takes more, and I'm glad that it does. Anyways, speaking of taking more, I won't take any more of your time. It's been 4 videos. Uh, you think this was long and hard on you. I mean, this is multiple takes to get this good. Whew. Anyways, carry on, guys. You guys are doing great. I'm glad to have you in my class. Bye for now.